listening to Keith Sports News. Hey guys, welcome to KSN episode 81 on another Tuesday edition. That's right, which means there's a lot to talk about because it is after the weekend. All right, so let's get right into it here. Another big weekend, the month of October. It's a big month for sports. You know, of course, you got football season, American football season. The Canadian Football League is wrapping up their regular season. The beginning of the NHL regular season pretty soon. I think it's next week. The NBA season will begin, but most importantly is the MLB Postseason. All right. And that's actually where we're going to begin. We might as well begin with the MLB Postseason, the Championship Series, American League and National League Championship Series, ALCS and NLCS. We'll start off with the ALCS Game 1 because that started first. All right. But let's go back. Let's go back to Friday night because, my gosh. Back Friday night was Game 5 of the ALDS between the Detroit Tigers and the Seattle Mariners. This series, I didn't thought this would go 5 games. I thought Seattle would win this series pretty easily, but it went to 5 games. Game 5 was in Seattle. My gosh. It was a crazy game. It was a crazy Game 5 because it was nearly 5 hours. This game was nearly 5 hours. And how many innings was it? I have to go back and check because I don't remember the exact amount. I'm on my phone here. I'm going to go to the ESPN app. And let's see here. 15 innings. That's crazy. Now, we normally don't get 15-inning games anymore because of the extra inning rules, the ghost runner starting on second base in the regular season. That's right, in the regular season. They don't have that rule in the postseason. Good. That's what I'm talking about, because that rule sucks. All right? A lot of people don't like that rule. So it's great that we had, it was like old school. It's like going back in time, you know? So that's great. Fans got their money's worth. And the Seattle Mariners, it was a close game. Seattle Mariners, they pulled this one off in 15 innings at Seattle, and they advanced to the ALCS, which means they have to fly all the way to Toronto for Game 1, which was on Sunday night. Sunday night comes. Toronto Blue Jays had a couple of days off. So I said to myself, Toronto's going to win this. The Blue Jays are going to win the American League Championship Series mainly because they're well rested. They tortured the New York Yankees. Seattle Mariners are not going to have much time to rest because they have to fly all the way to Toronto. So I was like, yeah, this is an interesting series. I think it'll go 7 games. This is before the series began. Before the series began, I'm like, this might go 7 games. So, game 1, Sunday night on Fox. Yes, NFL Sunday. Fox likes to do this, having NFL Sunday and a postseason game on the same evening. Fox. Okay. So, it's unusual having a game on Fox in Toronto. I say that because the Toronto Blue Jays have their own broadcast. They can have their own broadcast in the postseason, which is really cool. Okay? The announcers are Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez, and I was listening to them because I like them more than the Fox broadcast. Okay? And I have access to Sportsnet. All right? The last time Fox, I believe the last time before the ALCS this year, I think the last time Fox had a game in Toronto was the 2015 ALCS. Yeah, I remember that 10 years ago. So, game 1. The crowd is loud in Toronto. It's electric. Reminds me of the 2015 and 2016 Blue Jays postseason teams. All right. And Sunday night, let's see here. It's hard to remember because so much happened over the past couple of days and the weekend here. So, Blue Jays get home field advantage because they have a better record. All right. So, bottom of the first inning, the first pitch. George Springer, the former Houston Astros player, hit a home run. And I'm like, uh-oh. Blue Jays are going to put in a lot of runs again, eh? Like they did to the Yankees. No! That was the only run they scored. They only got 2 hits. 2 hits! Which is kind of crazy. By the way, the top of the first inning, I forgot to mention, I think, who was the player that I thought was safe at home? Was it Cal Raleigh? I think it was him, but it looked like he was safe. And surprisingly, the Mariners did not challenge that. But at the end of the night, that didn't matter because, like I said, the Blue Jays only got 1 run. Only 2 hits. The Mariners tied it up in the 6th inning. Raleigh hit a home run. The catcher, the man who hit 60 home runs in the regular season. The man who won the home run derby this season. He's like the best hitter. He's like the best catcher's hitter ever. I mean, goodness gracious, that's pretty crazy. 60? He hits another one. I'm like, wow, this player is very, very special. Mariners got another run in the 6th inning to make it 2-1. And then they got a third and final run in the 8th inning, and boy, oh boy, Blue Jays were not getting anything going ever since the George Springer home run. Mariners held on to win this game 3-1, and I'm like, wow. The team that had to play nearly 5 hours on Friday night, then have to fly all the way to Toronto. Not much rest. And they take game 1. Wow, what a story. What a story. Before the game, I was watching SportsCenter on Saturday night, I believe. Yeah, it's the Saturday night SportsCenter on TSN. They were asking, will Bo Bichette play? Basically, the Blue Jays have to decide by, 11 a.m. or noon if Bo Bichette will play. Turns out he did not play. Not really surprised. It's a shame for him. And I remember he used to have long hair. And these two teams, Mariners and the Blue Jays, they met in the wild card series a couple years ago, and that was the game where the Blue Jays were up by a lot of runs, and somehow the Mariners came back. And here they are. They meet again three years later. I could not believe the Mariners took game 1. Then game 2, which was early Monday evening. I think it was at 5 p.m. Eastern time. The reason why is because of the game after that was the NLCS game 1. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So game 2, I'm like, all right, they're going to have Savage pitching for the Blue Jays. That means the Blue Jays are going to win, right? It's a must-win for them. Well, Savage, he didn't pitch amazingly, but the first inning, Julio Rodriguez hit a home run to left field and three-run shot in the top of the first inning. That time, the Mariners made a statement. 3-0 in the first inning. However, in the bottom of the first, the Blue Jays scored 2 runs to make it 3-2. So I'm like, okay, we got ourselves a ball game here. This might be a high-scoring game. The roof is open. It's a nice evening, you know. It is, I forgot to mention, this just popped in my head. It's Canada Thanksgiving. Yeah. It's Canada's Thanksgiving. Their Thanksgiving's on a Monday. I guess it's the second Monday of October. Yeah. It's a big weekend for Canada. You know, you got NHL season returned with some Canadian teams in that league. You know, CFL football wrapping up the regular season. And they had a game on Monday afternoon. I'll talk about that later. But the Toronto Blue Jays were playing. Thanksgiving, Canada. They have to win, right? Well, they tied it up. After the second inning, they tied it up 3-3. And then the fifth inning comes. Fifth inning, they had a couple of guys on bases, and that's when the Blue Jays manager pulled out Savage. Was it the right decision? No, it was not. It was not the right decision. Why wasn't it the right decision? Because what happened after Savage came out? The bullpen gave up a 3-run homer. Mariners up 6-3, and it gets worse. It gets worse. They got some more runs after that in the 6th and 7th inning. It turns out the Mariners somehow they won this game by 7 runs. The Mariners also take Game 2, and now they're heading back to Seattle for Games 3, 4, and 5. This series might be a sweep. What if this series might be a sweep? If it is, holy crap. That is crazy. No one thought, literally, no one thought the Mariners, not only they would win Game 1, but they would win both Games 1 and 2. Now they have a great chance on winning this series in their own ballpark. And you know what? After they took the first 2 games, I hope they win this series in their own ballpark. They have a great chance. What the heck happened to the Blue Jays? They're like ice cold now. The bats are cold. Or is it because of those? How many? Game 4 they finished. They won the ALDS in 4 games, and I believe that was on a. Was that on a Tuesday or a Wednesday? That was on a Wednesday night, I think. So they had like 3 days off. Seattle didn't really had any days off. Were those days off that the Blue Jays had? Did they hurt them or something? I mean, they had like a week off when they had the bye. That helped them. I guess these 3 days off that they had did not help them. Or are the Yankees that bad in the postseason? Were they that bad in the postseason? I don't know. It's hard to say because heading into this series, after they beat the Yankees pretty easily, I said to myself, "Oh, they're gonna win. I think they're gonna win the ALCS." No, now they're down 2-0, heading to Toronto or to Seattle. The Blue Jays are in big trouble now. But you just never know. You just never know in the postseason. That's why the postseason's so great. That's what makes it so special. Anything can happen. The Mariners are on a mission. And remember, the Mariners, not only they haven't been to the ALCS in 21 years, or 23 years, I think. No, is it 24? I think it's 2001. 24 years ago, the last time they were in the ALCS. And that was the season where they won like 114 games, and they somehow didn't go to the World Series. Well, remember this. Also remember this. The Mariners have never gone to the World Series. They've never made a World Series appearance. That might finally happen this year. And I hope it happens. I just can't believe it. They won the first 2 games in Toronto after playing nearly 5 hours on Friday night. You don't have much rest. You have to fly all the way to Toronto. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. I'll have to hear what my favorite baseball podcasts have to say about that. This series was on ESPN Radio. The announcers are Carl Ravage, Eduardo Perez, and Tim Kurchin. And here's the thing. Game 2 was on FS1. This is like this every year whenever Fox and FS1 hosts a championship series. Game 1 would be on Fox, and then like all the other games would be on FS1 except for maybe Game 6 and Game 7, depending on what day of the week that falls on. But then all the games on all the World Series games are on Fox. It's kind of weird how it's like that. But the other championship series, TBS, all the games will be on TBS. And speaking of that, let's get into the National League Championship Series here. Game 1 between the Los Angeles Dodgers, the defending World Series champions, against the Milwaukee Brewers. This was at Milwaukee. All right. Oh, by the way, I completely forgot to mention this. Game 5, the Brewers were into Game 5 on Saturday night against their rivals, the Chicago Cubs. And I said to myself, the Brewers can't choke again. They have to win this series. You know, they're the first 2 games of the NLDS were huge wins for the Brewers. Then games 3 and 4 were in Chicago, where the Cubs won those games, forcing a Game 5 back in Milwaukee. So I said to myself, okay, it's back in Milwaukee. It's a home game for the Brewers. They can't choke again. I wasn't sure if they were going to win this or not. But they did. They held on to win. Pretty close game, low scoring, 3-1 final. So that means they get the host. They get home field advantage in the National League Championship Series because they have the most wins. Are they really the best team in baseball? Some people say the LA Dodgers are the team to beat in the National League, and I think so too, because the Dodgers have always been a great team, and they won the World Series last year. Milwaukee Brewers, they have never won a World Series. So can you imagine if we get Mariners and Brewers World Series? Now that World Series might not get much ratings, but it would be kind of exciting seeing 2 teams that have never won a championship. So game 1 was in Milwaukee. Now the LA Dodgers, they had some days off. They were well rested, just like the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays didn't do so well, but that was not the case for the LA Dodgers. Game 1 was in Milwaukee. This was a rematch of the 2018 NLCS, and that was a series where the Brewers choked. The Brewers could have won the 2018 NLCS. But the LA Dodgers came back and won. Not much happened in this game. Freddie Freeman hit a home run in the top of the 6th inning to have the Dodgers up 1-0. The 9th inning, the bases were loaded, and Mookie Betts walked, and Max Muncy scored to make the Dodgers have a 2-0 lead, 2-0. Bottom of the 9th, the Brewers did score a run, but it wasn't enough to get the victory. The LA Dodgers held on to win, 2-1 the final. And that's big. That is big for the LA Dodgers. If they win Game 2 in Milwaukee, oh my gosh, if that happens, they have a great chance winning the National League Championship Series, just like the Toronto Blue Jays in the American League side. So no ALCS Game 3 tonight. That'll be on Wednesday. Tonight, Tuesday, Game 2, Dodgers and Brewers. And the ESPN announcers are John Boog Shambi and Doug Glanville. And those guys, I believe they'll be calling the World Series on ESPN Radio. Yeah, I don't know. I really prefer listening to them than the TV announcers. That's just me, though. So, guess I'm old school. But we're down to the final four teams. We're down to the final four teams. Anything can happen. Hey, maybe the Blue Jays will win games 3, 4, and 5 in Seattle. Something like that happened in the 2023 ALCS and the 2019 World Series. Both of those series featured the Houston Astros, where both those series went to 7 games, and all 7 games were won by the visiting team. I still can't believe that happened twice for the Houston Astros. Somehow it can happen again. All right, let's move on now. So that's what's going on right now. The final four teams here. It's always interesting to see which one of those two teams will meet in the World Series. My World Series prediction, well, I have two of them. The first one, the one before the regular season began, was Red Sox Phillies. But the other one, the other World Series prediction, this is the one where the postseason was set. That World Series prediction is still alive, and that is Dodgers versus Mariners. Those two teams met the last 3 days of the regular season. Somehow the Dodgers swept the Mariners in Seattle, but that series didn't mean anything because both teams have already clinched. So that might be the World Series. If that's the World Series, cool. I'll be cheering for the Mariners. So, yeah, we'll see what happens later this week. Let's talk about the NFL. Week 6. There was another game in Europe, London, between the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets. Jets. The winless Jets, and they remain winless. What are they, 0-7 or 0-6? They're 0-6. No, they did not have a bye. But this team is falling apart. This team's falling apart. Denver did not play so great, but they held on to win 13-11. That's a weird score. Jets quarterback Justin Fields, I heard, got sacked like 8 times. 8 times. Pathetic. And the Jets head coach was asked, "Will you put Justin Fields in the next will you start Justin Fields in the next game?" And he's like, "What kind of question is that?" And the reporter said, "It's a fair question, sir." And I agree, that is a fair question. I mean, Justin Fields did not play well. Another close loss for the Jets as they remain the only the only winless team. Pittsburgh Steelers took care of business against the Cleveland Browns. How about Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers is having a great season as a Steeler, which is great. The former Jets quarterback. When Rodgers was playing for the Jets, wasn't not good of a season. Now Miami Dolphins lost another game to the LA Chargers. They lost their last 2 games, but they got one on the road. Is Mike McDaniel done? The Dolphins head coach? What about Tua Tagovailoa? What the heck happened to him? The left-handed quarterback. I always root for the lefties because I'm a lefty. I'm holding my phone with my left hand, So, yeah. Another loss for the Dolphins. Now, this one is interesting in a way. LA Rams versus the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. I said to myself, will the Ravens get crushed again like they did the other week against the Houston Texans? Well, this one it wasn't as bad, but they only scored 3 points. They lost by 2 touchdowns, 17-3. The Rams held on. The Ravens, oh my gosh, only 1 win and 5 losses. Lamar Jackson not going to be back until after their bye, which is like what, in 2 weeks or something like that. I think they have a bye next. But that Ravens have not had that kind of losing record ever in their franchise. That means the Ravens have always been a pretty good team, but not this year. Remember, this is the team that people picked in their Super Bowl to win the AFC, win the Super Bowl. Not me. I did not pick them to win the NFC. But dang. Okay. The Indianapolis Colts won another game. Is that the surprising story? The Colts having a great season so far with Daniel Jones. Once a giant, always a giant. Not in this case. This is also an interesting one. The Seattle Seahawks and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Seahawks won on the road 20-12 after the Jaguars got a huge win on last Monday night against the Kansas City Chiefs. Dallas Cowboys losing to the Carolina Panthers. Cowboys are not a good team. The Tennessee Titans lost to the Vegas Raiders. Now the Titans, they should be winless. They should not have won the other week against Arizona. They should be winless, and I heard that they fired their coach. Their head coach got fired. And a couple of years ago, the Titans were a great team, much better team, because they had Mike Vrabel. After Vrabel, I think Vrabel got fired at the Titans. After that, the Titans started to suck. They started to stink. Mike Vrabel goes to New England. He turns things around over there. Somehow New England, the Patriots might win the division. The Raiders are not a good team. The Raiders are probably the third worst team behind the Titans and the Jets. This was a huge game. San Francisco 49ers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. I wasn't sure which team would win. I was sort of leaning towards the 49ers. They got that huge win over the LA Rams. The LA Rams they probably should be undefeated. But mistakes can cost you the game. Baker Mayfield had a fantastic game. The Buccaneers are 5-1. People are saying that the Mayfield should win the MVP after their game. Took care of business, 30-19 victory. He might be. He might be the MVP. 5-1 record. They're going to win that division. Now for the 49ers side, unfortunately for them, they got another injury. What's his name? I forgot his name here, but he was on. His name is Fred Warner. Fred Warner, season-ending injury. That's terrible. Another injury. And this guy was a special guest on the Manning cast last Monday night. And yeah, I was watching that game because it was the Manning cast. I always like them, and they had him on. He was the last guest. it was the Chiefs and the Jaguars game. Exciting game. And, Fred Warner seems like a pretty funny guy. And he gets hurt the following game. Like, unreal. Oh, my gosh. These injuries are the worst. Cincinnati Bengals at the Green Bay Packers. That game didn't really mean anything now that Joe Burrow is out until December. By the time he comes back, the Bengals are going to be eliminated from the playoffs. Packers won 27-18. Sunday night was a big night. This was a big night, big game. The Detroit Lions at the Kansas City Chiefs. This probably should have been the Super Bowl a couple years ago, but I knew the Chiefs would win. I just could not see them losing another prime-time game. This time they were at home, and they did win 30-17. After the game, there was like a brawl. Well, it wasn't really a brawl, but the bench is empty. That was kind of unusual. But the Chiefs are now, 3-3? Don't count this team out. I have this team winning the division again. I have this team going to the playoffs again. Don't count this team out. The Ravens, you can probably count that team out. Here's what's interesting. This was a Sunday night game. And they were going up against Game 1 of the ALCS. What if the Detroit Tigers were in the ALCS? Because, then we would have had both the Lions and the Tigers play at the same time, except they're both visiting teams. But what if they were both home teams? I say that because both their stadiums, Comerica Park and Ford Field, if that's still the names of the stadiums, they're next to each other. Has that ever happened before? I don't think that can happen. If that's the case, what would they do? Because Lions-Chiefs, that's a big Sunday night game. They're not going to flex that game out. I guess they would have to have the Game 1 of the ALCS on Sunday afternoon during a bunch of NFL games. I don't know. But I bet you Fox was glad that the Tigers were not in the ALCS. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Then Monday night was another doubleheader. This is like the third doubleheader. The second time where both games were on at the same time. They were both pretty intriguing matchups. Buffalo Bills at the Atlanta Falcons. The question was, how would the Buffalo Bills respond after their loss on the previous Sunday night to the New England Patriots? I was watching some of that game. You know what's cool? Not only the game was... both teams were wearing their throwback helmets, which I've always liked that. Not only they were wearing their throwback helmets, the roof was also open in Atlanta. I don't think I remember ever seeing the roof being open in Atlanta, so that's cool. They had the roof open, and I don't know what the heck happened to the Buffalo Bills. They did not play good at all. They were all over Josh Allen. Falcons got a huge game. Huge win for them, 24-14. Remember, a couple weeks ago, the Falcons got shut out by the Carolina Panthers. Uh-oh. Are we concerned now for the Buffalo Bills? I mean, they have a bye. I heard that they have a bye, so normally when you have a bye and you're struggling, you try to improve yourself, clear up the mistakes, clean up those mistakes. But, that was... I bet you that's going to be the first thing that they're going to talk about, the Buffalo Bills. That's the first thing that a lot of sports podcasts are going to talk about. The second game, how about the Bears? With a big win against the Washington Commanders. Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. This was a tight battle. It was raining in D.C. The Bears kicked the game-winning field goal. This was the game that Joe Buck was calling. And that is a big win for the Bears. The Bears are off to a pretty bad start, you know. But now they are. The Bears are who we thought they are. So there you go. Week 6 in the NFL is in the books. Let's check the standings here. In the AFC East, both the Patriots and the Bills are tied 4-2. Dolphins 1-5. Jets 0-6. AFC North, how about the Pittsburgh Steelers? 4-1. They have a great chance winning that division. You know, I heard that Mike Tomlin's on the hot seat. Not anymore. If they make the postseason, the playoffs, they have a good chance. I mean, gosh, no Joe Burrow. Lamar Jackson's not playing. Pittsburgh Steelers have a great chance winning the AFC North. AFC South, the Indianapolis Colts are 5-1. The Jacksonville Jaguars 4-2. Those two teams will not meet until December. Like the first week of December, which is kind of interesting. We'll see if both teams can keep winning games until they finally meet. AFC West, Chargers and Broncos are 4-2. Chiefs are 3-3. Somehow the Chiefs are going to win that division again. Don't sleep on that team. NFC East, the Eagles, after that pretty bad loss, they're still winning the division 4-2. They're still gonna. I think they'll still win the division. They're still gonna make the playoffs. NFC North, the Packers 3-1-1, Lions 4-2, Vikings and Bears both 3-2. NFC North, the Buccaneers are 5-1. They're gonna win that division. Oh, you know, I completely forgot to talk about the Saints. My apologies. I completely forgot to talk about the Saints game. They lost another game, but they didn't get blown out. They didn't get blown out. I mean, I guess they're kind of like the Jets. I think the Saints are going to play the Jets this year. So, the Aints are 1-5. Yep. They got that big win against the Giants. And then after that, the Giants got a huge win against the Eagles. You just never know. This is the thing about pro football, or really in pro sports in general. A lot of teams can have a great game. A lot of teams can have a bad game. The Buffalo Bills had a bad game. The Atlanta Falcons had a great game. That's how that works sometimes. NFC West, wow, this is going to be a big battle. 49ers, Seahawks, and Rams are 4-2. Cardinals 2-4. The Cardinals should be 3-3. They should have beat the Titans. They should have beaten the Titans. The Titans should be winless. They should be 0-6, just like the Jets. Let's take a look at the Jets' schedule here. Their next game, home against the Panthers. They might lose that game. After that is on the road at the Bengals. They might also lose that game. At home against the Brownies. Come on, the Brownies are 1-5. If you don't beat the Brownies at home, you're probably going to be winless. Do they play the Saints or the Aints? No, they don't. They don't play them. They don't play them. They have the Dolphins at home. Dolphins are not a good team. You got to at least beat your rivals. At least beat one of your rivals. All right, okay, hold on a second. Thursday night football. What's the Thursday night game? The Thursday night game, because last week I completely forgot. Steelers and Bengals. I'm not going to watch that game. No Joe Burrow. That's a big loss, Okay. Now to the CFL here. CFL week 19, I believe it was. Yep. I actually didn't watch any games. I did not. Yeah, I know, right? I'm a big fan, but I didn't watch any games. I didn't watch any games. But I did see some of the highlights. I didn't see the YouTube highlights. I only saw the TSN highlights on their Sports Center show. Okay? So, Friday night, Argonauts, the eliminated Argonauts at the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I knew the Roughriders would win, and they won 27-19. No Chad Kelly still. I guess Kelly's not going to play. It's a shame for him. Saturday. Now, this was surprising. Calgary Stampeders at the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I thought the Tiger Cats would win. It was in Hamilton, and the Stampeders were kind of struggling lately, but no. Stamps made a statement with a 37-20 victory, keeping their playoff hopes alive. And that's good for me. My favorite team, the Montreal Alouettes, they're going to the playoffs, but we don't know which team will have the home field advantage. Later that Saturday evening, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at the Edmonton Elks. Thought the Blue Bombers would win. No, the Elks surprises us again. This team can surprise you, and they did. They won 25-20, and somehow the Elks are still alive in the playoffs. I thought they were already eliminated. No, somehow they're not. They have to win the rest of their games. And not only that, I think they also have to have the other teams in the West losing games. So, the last game was on a Monday. That's right. They had a game on Thanksgiving Monday in Canada, featuring my favorite team, Alouettes hosting the Ottawa Redblacks. I remember last year and the year before, these two teams met on Canada Thanksgiving Monday. They were in Montreal as well, and the Alouettes won those games, and they also won again, beating the Red Blacks. The Red Blacks are already eliminated. I could not watch that game because I was at work, but I was confident with Davis Alexander, the Alouettes would win this game, and they did. But however, like I said, I watched the TSN Sports Center. Alexander said that he didn't really play so well, and he got hit pretty hard in the head. The helmet. His helmet came off. When your helmet comes off, you have to sit out for a play, which is kind of weird. Like he had to sit out, and he didn't like that. I mean, I can't blame him. But nonetheless, the Alouettes won 30-10. Week 19's in the books. We only got 2 weeks left in the regular season. Let's check the standings. In the East Division, the Tiger Cats 10-7, Alouettes 9-7. This is a tight battle. Ooh. All right. West Division, Rough Riders 12-4. They already clinched home field advantage. They probably are the best team. Now, Lions, Stampeders, both 9-7. Blue Bombers 8-8. Elks 7-9. Somehow the 7-9 Elks are still alive, meaning these West Conference games will be huge over the next 2 weeks. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna look at the games real quick here. Friday night's a big one for the Blue Bombers. They'll be in action. We got Elks Lions late Friday night. All right, the Alouettes, they have to play the Red Blacks again on Saturday, except it's at Iowa or Ottawa, and Stampeders will be in action. All right, the team that's not playing is the Tiger Cats. The team that did not play in Week 19 was the BC Lions. So it could be chaos. It could be chaos here. Yeah. Pretty much after the World Series, that's when the CFL playoffs begin. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. I normally recap college football after the NFL, but I didn't do that. So it's a good thing I remember to talk about that because I put that on the list. More football talk. College football, Week 7. The 3 ABC games were huge. Let's talk about the ABC games here. Alabama at Missouri. Last year, Bama shut out Missouri. That was in Tuscaloosa. This year, in Missouri, SEC Nation, Missouri. I didn't wake up early to see that show. I just needed more sleep. And I was pretty confident that Bama would win. It was a close game. They held on to win 27-24, giving Missouri their first loss. But Missouri's a pretty good team. Alabama with another close win, but a win is a win. The second game was number 6 Oklahoma against unranked Texas. The Red River rivalry. That's right. This game's usually at 11 a.m. Central, but for whatever reason, it's at 2:30 p.m. Central. I don't know why. But how about Arch Manning and the Texas Longhorns? They woke up. They put out a statement after losing to Florida the previous week. They beat their big rivals 23-6. The Oklahoma quarterback that was injured, he came back. He didn't play so well. He's rusty, I guess. But the Longhorns with a huge win. And later that night was the Deep South's oldest rivalry, Georgia at Auburn. This was the night game on ABC. Sean McDonough was on the call. I didn't see that game, but because it was on at the exact same time as the LSU game and Game 5 of the NLDS. So I was confident that Georgia would win. Like I just knew Georgia was the better team, and low-scoring game. Auburn can surprise you sometimes, but Georgia held on to win. I think the last time they lost to Auburn was in 2017. 8 years. Yeah. All right, here. Let's see here. Other big games here. So speaking of LSU, they were in action after having a bye last week. How would they respond? How would they improve their offense? Well, their offense wasn't that great, but their defense is great. They held on to win 20-10 against South Carolina. Arkansas's first game with Coach Bobby Petrino. After they had a bye, they had a tough game against Tennessee on the road. They were losing most of the game, but in the fourth quarter, they made the score close. And that's how the Vols held on to win 34-31. So Arkansas did not get crushed like they did against Notre Dame 2 weeks ago. But unfortunately for Arkansas, not only they're the worst team in the SEC, but I think they're not going to win 6 games. They may not be bowl eligible. Number 1 Ohio State took care of business on the road against Illinois, 34-16. Ohio State, the team that won the national championship, they're number 1 for a reason. They are that damn good. How about this? This, to me, was surprising. Number 7 Indiana with a huge win on the road against number 3 Oregon, 30-20. That's huge. That is huge. In Eugene, I thought Oregon was a much better team than Indiana. That's why I was confident that Oregon would win. No. I mean, Indiana's number 7, but still, winning on the road, that's huge. That is huge for Indiana. Indiana's biggest win in a long time, probably, because Indiana used to be pretty bad. So I'll look at the rankings in just a bit here. Let's see. Now, this was also surprising. Unranked Washington State put up a fight. They were winning for a while on the road in Oxford, Mississippi against number 4 Ole Miss. Ole Miss held on to win by a field goal, 24-21. That was surprising. What were they, like a 30.5-point favorite or something like that? Like, jeez. Surprisingly. Number 5, Texas A&M took care of business against Florida. They might be the best SEC team. All right, moving down the list, Texas Tech. They also took care of business. They might be the best Big 12 team in that conference. Unranked USC defeated number 15 Michigan 31-13, and they both have the same record at the time of this game. Somehow USC was not ranked. Well, they are now. They are now, that's for sure. Maybe they are number 15. I have not checked the rankings yet. I will check it in just a bit, like I said. Unranked Utah crushed number 21 Arizona State 42-10. Colorado with a big win against number 22 Iowa State. Oh man, Florida State lost again at home against Pittsburgh. Yeah. It's like Florida State's season is falling apart again. All right. Wow, South Florida. Friday night, South Florida scored 63 points against North Texas. North Texas scored 36 points. Let's check the rankings here. Oh yeah. Before I check the rankings, the biggest news. I almost forgot. Thankfully, I wrote it on the list. I just checked the list and I almost forgot. The biggest news. Penn State fired James Franklin. James Franklin is gone. Wow. I don't know what to say. So a couple weeks ago they lost to a tough game against Oregon. It was a tough game. Close game. I did pick Oregon to win, The game was in Pennsylvania. They didn't win. They lost in overtime. So then the following week, they had to fly all the way to UCLA, California. They lost to not only an unranked UCLA team, they also lost to a winless UCLA team. Like, that is crazy. After that, they're out of the top 25. And they lost another game. I think it was homecoming. I heard that this was their homecoming game. They lost to Northwestern at home? Unranked Northwestern? Wow. Oh my gosh. Like, I didn't see that game. Every week I try to watch SEC football final and college football final. They're great shows to watch late at night. Yeah. This is big. This is huge news. Some people say that James Franklin should have been fired a couple years ago. But now it actually happened. It legitimately happened. Wow. I don't know what to say other than it makes sense why they fired him, why he got fired. I wasn't really expecting it. I thought he might get fired after the season. But here's the thing. His overall record is pretty good. You know? So, let me take a drink real quick here before I talk more about this here. And remember, he was in the college football playoff semifinal game last season. And it looked like they were actually going to the national championship game. This was last year. Last season was the first 12-team playoff format. Their first game was at home against SMU. They dominated that game. Then in the Fiesta Bowl against Boise State, they also dominated that game. Semifinal, they were the favorite to win. They could have won that game. This was the Orange Bowl. The problem with James Franklin is that he can't win the big games. He can't. He cannot win the big games. Every year he loses to Ohio State. He can't win these top 10, top 5 matchups. When they crushed SMU and Boise State, they weren't that great teams. Notre Dame's a better team than those two programs, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. James Franklin, he's been the Penn State coach for a while. That is the top story. So first, then Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State fired him. Sam Pittman got fired at Arkansas. And now James Franklin getting fired at Penn State. I'm sure he's going to be coaching somewhere else next season. Will he stay in the Big Ten? Will he go to the SEC? The Big 12? What if he becomes the Oklahoma State head coach? He was actually the head coach at Vanderbilt for a couple of seasons, and he's been the Penn State head coach 2014, over 10 years. His head coaching record at Penn State, their conference, 64-36. Overall, 104-45. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Pretty good record. Overall record, conference record. He just can't win the big games. Every year, when he was the head coach at Penn State, they were in bowl games. I mean, last season was Penn State's biggest season because they got to the playoff. They got to the college football semifinal. So let's take a look at this here. Let's look at Penn State's game results over the past 10 years or so, 2014. So we're going to do that here, all right? And let's see if James Franklin, if he got any top 10 wins. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, Penn State, they lost to Northwestern by 1 point. Now they have to go to Iowa. That's probably going to be another loss. And then at Ohio State, that's going to be another loss. Against Indiana, the way Indiana's playing, that's going to be another loss. At Michigan State, against Nebraska, and then at Rutgers. This team might not win 6 games. That's a grind in the Big Ten. At Iowa, at Ohio State, against Indiana, at Michigan State, against Nebraska. They might lose all those games. When they faced Oregon, they were number 3 in the country. Number 3 in the country. After they lost to Oregon, their ranking dropped to number 7. Okay, just a few spots. They lost to a 0-4 UCLA team. After that, out of the top 25. So let's go back to 2014 here. James Franklin's first season as the head coach of Penn State here. Lost to Ohio State, 31-24. Lost to number 13 Ohio State. Lost to number 10 Michigan, 34-10. Okay, their first season, they were 6-6. Okay, you normally, when you're a head coach, your first season at a program, you're not going to be fantastic right away. It's going to take a couple of seasons. 2015, they improved. They were 5-1. Then they lost at Ohio, number 1 Ohio State, 38-10. They lost to at number 21 Northwestern, at home against number 12 Michigan, and at number 5 Michigan State. They went 7-2. Then they lost the next 3 games. 2016. They lost to at number 4 Michigan, 49-10. They lost to they got to win. They did beat Ohio State in 2016. I do remember that. That was actually the same night as the Halloween, my big parents' Halloween party. 2016. That was their big win. I think that might have been James Franklin's only huge win. I completely forgot about that. Oh, they also won the Big Ten championship. They beat number 6 Wisconsin 38-31. 2016 was a great season for Penn State. They lost 2 games. The one game was at their crushing loss to Michigan. The other one was at Pittsburgh. I don't know what it is with Pittsburgh, pulling off these big wins. 2017, the team was on a hot roll, 7-0. Then they lost to at number 6 Ohio State by 1 point, 39-38. And then at number 24 Michigan State, 27-24. Okay, they're close losses. They went 10-2. They won the Fiesta Bowl. Pretty good season. Just as good as 2016. 2016, they lost in the Rose Bowl in that high-scoring shootout against USC. I remember Sam Darnold, the Seahawks quarterback, was in that game. 2018, they lost to Ohio State again by 1 point, number 4 Ohio State. Then they lost to unranked Michigan State at home, 21-17. And their third loss was at number 5 Michigan, 42-7. Then they went 9-3. They lost to the Citrus Bowl to Kentucky, 27-24. 2019. Oh my gosh, they scored 79 points against Idaho. They went 8-0. They went 8-0. They lost to Minnesota, number 17, Minnesota on the road, 31-26. They lost to Ohio State again, number 2, the number 2 team, 28-17. They were in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic against Memphis. Memphis had a great season that year, but Penn State, they won that game. All right, I'm skipping 2020. I don't count 2020 because of the pandemic. 2021, they were 5-0. They won at Wisconsin, at home against Auburn. They lost to at number 3 Iowa, 23-20. They lost to the 9 overtime round. This is insane, against unranked Illinois. And then they lost again at number 5 Ohio State. They lost at home again to number 6 Michigan. At number 12 Michigan State. They went 7-5. And they lost in the Outback Bowl against Arkansas. Big win for Arkansas. 2022, 5-0. They lost to at Michigan, number 5 Michigan, 41-17. They beat Minnesota easily, unranked Minnesota. They lost to at home against number 2 Ohio State, 44-31. And they won the rest of their games. So 10-2. Okay. Not bad. They just can't beat Ohio State and Michigan. 2023. 6-0. At number 3 Ohio State. Another loss to Ohio State. Another loss to Michigan at home. Number 3 Michigan. Another 10-2 season. 2022, they won the Rose Bowl. 2023, they lost the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. And then James Franklin's last season was his best because he was in the playoff. They went 7-0. They lost to Ohio State again. At home, number 4 team in the country. They won the rest of their games. Regular season. They lost the Big 12, the Big 10 championship to number 1 Oregon, 45-37. And then the college football playoff first round. They beat number 11 SMU 38-10, but SMU's not that great. Big win against Boise State, number 3 Boise State 31-14, but Boise State's also not that great. Now this is the playoff seeding. So Boise State, they were not the number 3 team in the country. It was the playoff seeding, which I think they should fix that. I think they should change that. I don't know if it's the exact same seeding format from last season. I guess we'll find out. But then lost to Notre Dame, the game where they could have or should have won that game. In 2025, Penn State could be a pretty, well, it already is a bad one, but it could be a lot worse. 2016, James Franklin, his team beat Ohio State, number 2 team in the country. They also beat number 6 Wisconsin, the Big Ten championship. That was it. That was his only magnificent season in terms of beating some top 10 teams. But he's a good coach. His record speaks for itself. Some program will hire him next season. I mean, the Big Ten's tough now. You got Oregon in it. You got USC in it. Those are big Pac-12 teams. It's tough. It's tough. Wow. Well, I'll be listening to... I was sort of listening to College Game Day with Reese Davis and Pete Thamel talking about this big news here. So, yeah. Crazy, guys. Crazy. Let's see here. Yep, he's out as the Penn State football coach. I don't know, man. I wasn't really thinking about that topic after they lost to Northwestern. Oh, you know what's really bad? I forgot to mention this. Penn State's quarterback out for the rest of the season. Another tough loss for Penn State. And it's going to get tougher down the road for them. All right. Well, and to end this here, the WNBA Finals came to an end. It was a sweep, and I knew it would be a sweep after Vegas won the third game. The Game 3, Phoenix Mercury should have won that game. After that, Vegas took Game 4. I was sort of watching some of that. Then I saw that Vegas was kind of pulling away in that Game 4 on Friday night last week. And they held on to win. They were clearly the better team. The first WNBA Finals went to the first time ever. The WNBA Finals was in the best of 7 series, and it was also the first 4-0 sweep. That's kind of a shame for their season, for the WNBA season to come to an end like that. I mean, sometimes that happens. A sweep is kind of rare when you think about it. So, let's hope we don't get a sweep in the World Series. So yeah, the NBA season, their regular season, it begins next week. They want to wait until the WNBA Finals comes to an end, and it turns out it ended early. Next week, oh my gosh. Next week, we're technically going to have the four major sports, all four major sports. American football, obviously. NHL began last week. Next week, NBA season begins. And next week, the end of the ALCS, NLCS, and the beginning of the World Series. Oh, it's a lot. A lot going on. All right. Well, I knew this episode would be long, but that's the way it is on Tuesdays. I'm just glad this is not 2.5 hours like it was before. So, I'll be back on Friday. Enjoy the championship series of the MLB Postseason. Talk to you later. Thank you for listening to Keith Sports News.